What's up, everybody, and welcome to ITG Daily, the show that brings you the hottest in gaming news each and every day. I'm Drew Bosley, that's Scott Savage, and you can join us at InsideTheGame.ca, our YouTube channel, Inside the Game Official, TV streaming platforms around the globe like Roku, Amazon Prime, Jinx Esports TV, ESTV, a whole lot more. Hit us up over on our Fast channel, that's right, 24/7 of ITG. You can't miss us over there on Rad. But maybe you want the audio side, well, we got you covered there as well. Hit us up over on Fired Up Network. We're across 212. That's right, 212. Math is a little off this morning, Scott. But let's get into it. Today's show, Scott, there's a couple topics. What are we talking about?
We have Bungie issuing a statement to the Destiny community. It's been a rough time at Bungie lately. IO Interactive has teased us with some James Bond knowledge, and Call of Duty pop-ups have annoyed literally everybody on Xbox.
Certainly have. Before we get there, Scott, what are you playing, man? It's the weekend. What are you going into?
I think I'm going to have to keep going into Wolfenstein. I'm really enjoying the older Wolfenstein, as in Old Blood. Okay. Not the old Wolfenstein. In any case, a really excellent stealth game when you play it that way.
Yeah, fair enough. Man, I should try it. I've never played it. I should maybe give it a shot. I know. Right now, though, dude, I'm back in the world of Red Dead Online. I'm having a blast over there. It's just a different beat, I think, over there, right? We've been into some pretty heavy games lately and just a lot on the go. So to get into Red Dead, I'm out there fishing this morning. It was awesome. I lost my lure. I'm trying to catch a pike. I'm having a hard time. But either way, I'm going to go back into it. There's a bunch of challenges I want to do, and it's just one thing at a time. And then they hit up with the Halloween pass. I'm like, yo, I'm in. I had enough gold, so I picked it up. I'm like, yeah, I'm just chipping away. It's been cool. Absolutely cool. But yeah, let's get into the show. Scott, our first topic of the day, dude, probably going to be most of the show. This is a big one. This is Bungie issues a statement to the Destiny community following the layoffs. Quote, "We know we have lost a lot of your trust." End quote. Andy Chalk over PC Gamer had this to say, and there's a lot to it, so bear with me. The Destiny 2 studio says it's committed to, quote, "exceeding your expectations," end quote, with the Final Shape expansion, but there's still no word of a delay. Following the surprise layoffs earlier this week that saw a number of well-loved veteran employees put out of work, Destiny's studio Bungie has released a statement acknowledging that it has, quote, "lost a lot of your trust," end quote, but says that it remains, quote, "intensely focused on exceeding your expectations," end quote, with the upcoming Destiny 2 expansion, The Final Shape. Quote, "This has been one of the most difficult weeks in our studio's history, as we've parted ways with people we respect and admire," end quote, Bungie wrote. Quote, "We've spent this week supporting one another, including those who are at the studio, as well as friends and colleagues who are no longer are," end quote. The statement goes on to address negative sentiment in the Destiny community. The mood around the game has reached new lows this year, with the game director at one point making a video apology for how communication has been handled. The catalyst for the wave of negativity engulfing the game was the release of the Lightfall expansion last February, which was substantially a step back for the quality of its predecessor, The Witch Queen. Criticism has only snowballed from this point, usually encompassing player burnout with the seasonal model of how it's monetized. Somewhat surprisingly, there's no mention of a delay to the Final Shape's release. Following the layoffs, rumors surfaced saying that the expansion had been pushed into June. A Bloomberg report said the Final Shape has been getting good, but, quote, "not great," end quote, feedback internally, which is conjunction with the poor reception to the previous expansion, Lightfall, and is a reported sharp drop in player numbers led management to push back to the release. Quote, "We are intensely focused on exceeding your expectations for the Final Shape," end quote, Bungie wrote. Quote, "Destiny 2 has more than 650 dedicated teammates pouring all their energy and expertise into delivering this epic moment and its substantial episodes. In the weeks ahead, you'll be hearing more from us about what's next on the short-term horizon, beginning with our next season in late November. Afterwards, we'll begin to unpack our team's bigger, bolder, and brighter vision for the Final Shape, as well as the bridge we plan to build to take us out of the darkness and into the light," end quote. The early reaction to Bungie's statement, which is attributed to the Destiny 2 dev team, quote, "is not very positive." Fans are critical of the surprising dearth of information about the expansion and also the highly polished but largely vacuous nature of the post itself. which effectively hand waves the surprising firing of an estimated 100 employees by referring them to as, quote, friends and colleagues who no longer are at the studio, end quote. Man, that statement echoes the reaction to a tweet released shortly after the layoffs were confirmed by Bungie CEO Pete Parsons, who said it was, quote, a sad day at Bungie as we say goodbye to colleagues who have all made a significant impact on our studio, end quote. The passivity of Parsons' statement angered many Destiny fans who pointed out that he was still employed head of the company and not merely a bystander who feels very bad about the whole thing. Oh man, shots were fired this week, that's for sure. For now, Destiny 2, the final shape pre-order page still lists February 27th, 2024 as a release date. Scott, dude, there's lots going on.
Yeah, that is a big mess of a situation, but it's interesting that, it really wasn't taken very... It came across as tone deaf, saying, oh, we feel so bad for the people that we've just let go. Well, this Pete Parsons, you were the man in charge. You're the one who had something to do with it. And although I understand you're not going to feel good about those decisions, it just doesn't seem like it was enough. And that's going to sour a lot of the player base. The player base is looking at Bungie as, this is supposedly such a great company to work for. They produce such great content, but where is that content now? So it seems like a lot of problems are all kind of coming together all at once for Bungie right now.
Oh, absolutely. Don't forget they were purchased by PlayStation for $3.6 billion. Isn't that supposed to be a security for your employees? Right? That's the other side of it. You were purchased so you don't have to worry about all these little hiccups and the layoffs of other individuals, right? This is supposed to be like your security blanket. And it just doesn't pan out to be that way. Their projection was 45% under the revenue that they're going to generate from the last DLC. Dude, there's a lot of red flags popping up right now with, I wouldn't say PlayStation, but more Bungie, right? It is Destiny after all. Are the players just getting burnt out in general, Scott?
I think that's what it is. After so many years now of Destiny 2, and admittedly good content follow up. Sure. I think there's a natural end to that, and I think the players are just eventually the DLC updates that we get are never going to be enough because there just isn't enough there to make a new game out of it. It's just not fresh enough. And I see a lot of these players, people on my friends list have switched over, funny enough, to 343's Halo Infinite.
Wow.
And are playing that online every night instead of Destiny. There does seem to be a change happening. The
final shape. Is this the final knife in the coffin or nail in the coffin to end Destiny 2? Are we going to come into the light, Scott, but everybody's just going to bail out? Like, is the final shape enough to pull people back in? They can be there for a week and then that's it. They're done with Destiny. They're ready to move on. Have they just extended their welcome too long with Destiny 2?
I think this is a natural. Well, being called the final shape is maybe one hint towards that. But I think this was supposed to be the last DLC because this is the ending of that storyline. We go to the light from the darkness. That's kind of the whole precipice that's been set up since Destiny 1. So I'm wondering, is this actually just the wind down of Destiny 2, prepping for a 3? Will we ever see a 3? Perhaps that's not going to happen.
Do you think they work on a new IP, or do you think they're going to work on 3?
I would really like them to do a new IP because Bungie's ideas just never seem to die.
Yeah.
They like to bring it up just later in another form. But I wouldn't be terribly surprised by seeing a 3. I just wonder, how do you reinvent it to make it fresh?
Sure. No, absolutely. They've had a long-running story going on forever. We do know we are eventually getting Marathon at some point, right? They are working on that IP as well. But again, it's not a brand new IP. It's something they've had cooking since the beginning of Bungie. So it's been interesting to fall. But on the other side of this, Scott, when you take a look at how their games as service model isn't working anymore and is losing the player base, then it makes me kind of back my shoulders up a little bit and go, hey, aren't you the ones that advised Naughty Dog not to release their multiplayer game because their games as service you didn't think was going to hit? Meanwhile, yours isn't hitting at all. That's the other side of it. Maybe, just maybe, Naughty Dog had something with The Last of Us Factions 2, whatever you want to call that next sequel to the multiplayer, And then they relied on Bungie for this information. But when you take a look at the studio situation right now, projected revenue sales 45% less than what they were supposed to hit. They're laying off over 100 people. Did you make the right decision? Like, that's where I come. Man, it doesn't look too well, not only for Bungie and Destiny fans, but for the rest of the PlayStation. If everybody at PlayStation bought Bungie for their games of service model and it's failing, then isn't that a bit of concern for the rest of your games of service? Fair games. What's Marathon going to turn out to be? Naughty Dog's now, The Last of Us, been told not as good as what they should have, and because they relied on Bungie's information, right? Granted, Bungie's a talented team. They know a lot more than I do. I'm not saying I'm an expert in this whatsoever. That's not what I'm saying here. But when you rely on somebody who's already not doing as well as expected, with a 40, dude, how do you misproject 45% of those earnings?
Yeah, that's a huge, that's not a small miscalculation.
10%? Okay, 5%? Whatever, that happens, right? Maybe it's just, it is what it is. It was for almost half, Scott, almost half of projections for Destiny. And then this is why maybe now we're not getting The Last of Us multiplayer. At this point, just put it out and see what we get.
Yeah, perhaps. Well, it seems Bungie is not the leaders, the masters of the games of service anymore. I think that goes to the team behind Sea of Thieves.
Well, I was thinking Rockstar, GTA Online, dude.
Yep,
that's
Fortnite. Okay. There are many in the room that could put together a good games of service.
Well, even Epic Games themselves have laid off people recently too, right? Are we starting to see the games of service model just dwindle?
I really think so.
Yeah, I think we're starting to see it come to a head. It has the rise, has hit the peak, and it's been staying there for a while. But now it looks like at the end of the day, it's starting to taper off. So I don't know. We'll see how the future holds there for Destiny, but maybe 3 is the next step we really need. Got on to some more exciting news. IO Interactive gives new details on its new James Bond game, Project 007. Mike Straw over at Insider Gaming. IO Interactive, the team behind Hitman, is currently working on a new James Bond game, Project 007. Recently, Edge Magazine was able to talk with the studio CEO, Håkan Abron, about the upcoming game and learn more about what the studio is hoping to achieve. It said that the game is looking to be, quote, a more scripted experience than Hitman's freeform jaunts, end quote. Quote, it's been pitched as the ultimate spycraft fantasy, which suggests gadgets and perhaps a step away from the murderous objectives of Agent 47, end quote, according to the story. The game will be a third-person action with original James Bond that isn't based on any of the movies or actors. However, the game will seemingly be, quote, closer to Daniel Craig than Roger Moore, end quote. Project 007 isn't expected to release until 2025 at the earliest, meaning there's still plenty of time for things to change. Scott, if I bring up Roger Moore, dude, I don't know how many people even recognize that he was 007 at one point, right?
I was going to ask you, have you seen those films?
Yes.
Are you familiar? Yep. I think I've seen one, but I can't recall.
So my brother's got the collection. Like, that's how far we go back. My brother actually started collecting all the James Bond movies from back in the day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so he's got the Roger Moore and all the way up. I believe he's got Daniel Craig now too, but yeah, Sean Connery back in, like, man, like there's so many different versions of who James Bond was, you know?
Oh yeah.
So
everybody has their favorite. I think mine's Pierce Brosnan because I was a kid growing up with him.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
He's a little bit more actiony. Daniel Craig seems to be just the pit fighter out of all the James Bonds. So this does suggest that it'll be a little more action-packed than what you may expect.
It is the spy craft fantasy is what I'm really interested. What do you mean by that, right? Are we getting high-tech gadgets? We getting a souped-up car? We'll be in an Aston Martin of some sort, I'm sure, right? Like that's just the staple when it comes to James Bond. But we'll see. I'm definitely curious. It's IO Interactive, first of all, right? Huge fan. Hitman, loved it. Dude, I recently re-downloaded Hitman 3 just so I can get into freelancer mode once again. Wow. Like, dude, it is sick. I'm down in my cave and there's my wall of guns and I'm like, okay, I got more to go. Let's go out and get them. And you're just tracking down targets. I wonder if this is more scripted. Are we kind of getting more of a, I'd almost say kind of like a Splinter Cell situation? You have point A to point B with very limited range of kind of wandering, where Agent 47, right, with Hitman is like wide open. Here's a level. there's your target. You figure it out, right?
Yeah, from what I recall with the last few James Bond games, it's been several years now.
GoldenEye.
But there's generally I liked GoldenEye the second one, believe it or not, actually. But the idea of the more modern ones, you have a very easy way. You can walk in through the front door normally and just shoot everybody on the way in. That's not how James Bond is supposed to be, despite the movies. Generally, you'll go up through the vent. It'll be a second option, and it'll give you the but I hope there'll still be a little bit of that free form, because being IO interactive, I know that DNA is gonna be felt throughout it.
I would hope so, right? I hope there is variety in the level design. I don't want to see it be, okay, there's point A, there's point B, and there's no veering off. This is IO interactive, so you expect to be able to be presented with different opportunities to get to your objective and not go in the straight path. Dude, I don't want to go in the straight path. I want to zigzag my way in and out until I get there. And then
we're so used to player agency now, so that makes sense. Yeah, I want to have that freedom, but I want to make a hazard a bet here. How familiar is this 007 going to be? And what I mean by that is there going to be a GoldenEye laser? It's always a GoldenEye laser.
You mean the golden gun? It's
well, I think Quantum of Solace was some form of a GoldenEye laser. I'm telling you, it's always GoldenEye laser.
Yeah, it'll be probably something I don't want to say be cheeseball, but that's James Bond at the end of the day too, right? Like that's just, it is what it is. I'm hoping for something.
It's a strong cheese.
It is a strong cheese. It is, I guess. Yeah, it's very fermented. I hope for something really, really cool out of this. Like, we've been so long since we've had like a really solid, a really good foundation of a James Bond game, and I'm hoping we get into almost a Dishonored touch of level design, right? Bring in opportunities. Now, I know we're not going to get into the magical side that Dishonored brings, but the open level design is really what I'm hoping that they bring over here. This is, like we say, right? It is IO. So you could expect that. Now, as their own character, dude, I do appreciate that they're not following the movies too. Bring in your own touch and see if that can work for us. I think that's the best way to take this. Now, we don't need a Daniel Craig for a game, I don't think, at this point. Do you?
Oh, he could be in one, and it would not bother me at all. But just the idea of this gives you more freedom. I don't have to play as if I was Daniel Craig, or I don't have to beat the Pierce Brosnan James Bond or the Roger Moore. It can be my decision, and I think that's why they did it. I think that's wise.
Can we create our own James Bond?
Oh, actually, yeah. Right? How expensive would these voices be as well? That's another consideration.
Well, if you just give us a male or a female opportunity, right, with the voice acting, that's pretty standard. That's pretty easy to do, I would think.
Oh,
and then just allow us
to create our own female Bond.
Well, in the newest movie there is, right?
So, you're right.
So maybe,
kind of.
Yeah, well, yeah, kind of, sort of, whatever. But there's opportunity. Well, I don't know. IO Interactive. Obviously, we'll be keeping an eye on them to see what they bring. Anything further for James Bond, but dude, not till 2025.
Yeah, it's gonna be a while.
It is. Topic number 3: Xbox pushes full screen pop-up ads for Modern Warfare 3. Dude, that sucked yesterday when I turned my Xbox on.
I need ad block on my Xbox now.
Like, I was just like, whoa, what is this? Andy Robertson over at VGC. Xbox served North America Xbox users with a full screen Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 pop-up ad on Thursday to mark the start of the game's campaign early access period. As pictured by a social media user, the full screen ad appears when users boot up their Xbox and feature callouts to purchase Modern Warfare 3's premium version. This isn't the first time Xbox has served this kind of advert on consoles. In recent weeks, it pushed out similar full screen promotions for Starfield and Forza Motorsport. Dude, I completely missed those somehow, but this one was like right in my face. I didn't like this yesterday.
Bright red. The bright red gave it away. Maybe that's why it stands out. Because I'm thinking, did I see a Starfield one forever ago?
I don't recall. Man, I don't really recall. Right? I don't know why, but yeah, yesterday booting this up, I was like, don't do this. Just don't start doing this to us. Like, that is just, it feels just a little on the negative side to be pushing that the minute I turn on my Xbox. Have you seen any like feedback on this morning?
Just a lot of annoyance, just general annoyance, and relating this to the last dashboard update. The last Xbox dashboard update pushed some tiles around, changes how things were laid out, and a lot of people were really angry because there was sections of the screen now that were devoted to the marketplace. Essentially, there's an ad space in your Xbox all the time, so that was already kind of a misstep. This is incredibly much further than that. And I'm wondering, due to parity, I don't think PlayStation got a bump forced ad.
I don't know. I should turn on my PlayStation this morning. I haven't turned it on this morning. I turned on my Xbox to jump into Red Dead before going on here. And man, I was just boom. Because obviously the big red screen is a little jarring, especially at 6 o'clock in the morning. But it was just like, whoa, hang on. I need a sip of coffee for this, and then exit. Get off my screen, man. I was like, this isn't cool. That's not something I don't think bodes well for the future of Xbox if they continue to do this. I don't think it's consumer friendly. I think it's a negative take, and it's just a little, man, it's like watching YouTube, and all of a sudden you're in the middle of your video, and then a 45-minute ad pops up. I was like, this ain't cool, right? Like, it's just, nobody wants that. And then I feel like a lot of us, especially those who don't even like Call of Duty, are gonna hate this, right? Like, that's the other side of it. How many consumers did you just tick off this morning? Like, that can't be good. I get you want to push the game. Here's the thing, for me, those who are already invested in Call of Duty, we're already gonna buy it.
Everybody knows about Call of Duty. There's nobody that you're going to convince in that manner. Yeah, but advertisements do work in some regard, though, so they have to work. Otherwise, we would have defeated them 100 years ago. But the ads just keep getting stronger.
Yeah, no, I get the advertising, right? It needs to be there, but I think this is just the wrong way to do it. People are already ticked off, like you say, when they move some of the tiles that we already had in ad space. Now it's constantly there as it is. It's just you have your main games you just played, and then underneath there's an ad. I'm like, man, there we go. Why don't you put Call of Duty there? Don't make it automatically go right to the main. Dude, my whole TV was just a Call of Duty thing this morning. I'm like, no.
Your whole room lit up red being 6 in the morning.
Oh my goodness. I was just, yeah, this isn't cool, Xbox, and I'm calling you out. Get rid of this crap. Nobody wants it, and all you did was tick us all off this morning. We'll see. I understand the purpose, but it's just not hitting well with myself, with Scott, and I'm imagining everybody else. Scott, it's Friday, which means it's the weekend, and we've got some new games to play. What are we playing today?
There are a lot of choices here. We have Back to the Dawn on PC, Ebenezer and the Invisible World on PC, PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox One, XS, and the Switch. You are familiar with that one yourself.
Yep.
WarioWare Move It is on the Switch. Jumanji Wild Adventure is on PC, PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox One X, and the Switch. EA Sports WRC is PC, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series. Warcraft Arclight Rumble is on iOS and Android. Strangers is on PC, and Quantum Error is on PlayStation 5.
And don't forget to check out our review of Ebenezer. If you haven't checked it out yet, it is quite cool. It is very unique title, and the hand-drawn art is absolutely stunning. And that'll wrap up today's episode, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. This has been ITG Daily, the show that brings you the hottest in gaming news each day, Monday to Friday. And of course, we'll be back again next week. I'm Drew. That's Scott.
We'll see you inside the game.